Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Franklin Planning Board, the June 3rd, 2024 meeting. This meeting is audio and video recorded. It's also on Zoom, and the Zoom call-in number is 312-626-6799 with a meeting number of 945-08-202-266. We'll take, we're gonna have some continuations, so we'll take them right out of the gate this afternoon, this evening. Two-
Mr. Chairman, just gonna note that Chris Stigney is not
Yep.
participating tonight.
Yep. I think he was gonna watch, but not participate, yeah. Okay. I guess we'll go to 240 East Central Street. Amy, I believe they're looking for, I have a letter, they're looking for a continuation. We go to June 17th. Okay, so I make a motion to continue the site plan application of 240 East Central Street to June 17th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item of business would be another continued public hearing, which was for 6 Forge Parkway, site plan application, and I believe they're also looking for continuation. Amy, June 17th work for you as well?
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion to continue 6 Forge Parkway till June 17th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Here we go, another continuation. This will be another continuation of a public hearing for preliminary subdivision, Balsam Estates. They're looking for continuation till June 17th as well. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll go to general business. I'll take care of meeting minutes really quick. If everybody's read the meeting minutes from April 8th and April 22nd, 2024, do we have any additions and or deletions? If not, make a motion to accept meeting minutes from April 8th and April 22nd, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, excuse me, our next item of business, this will be for a limited site plan for 34 Saxon Street. If you want to approach the table, please. And if you want to just introduce yourselves as well for the board and the Zoom land.
Hi, I'm Brian Keller. I'm the administrator of Downtown Sports and also work at the preschool and daycare.
Okay.
And I'm Amanda Cavalieri with Garrier and Hownan, representing Downtown Sports.
Okay. Amy, I'll go to you first. If you could give us a quick preview.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They had filed this back, I think, in October, November, to add an outside playground with a fenced-in area. The board had expressed several concerns. I know that they've been working things out with the fire department as well as the building commissioner. They've provided revised plans that include fencing detail. Fire has submitted a letter as well, so that's as well in your packet. So they're in front of you now for a limited site plan approval.
Okay. I'll go to the applicant first before I go to the board and the audience. Amanda, if you could give us a brief overview of what you guys done of changes
Sure.
since you were last here, in additions, if you could, please.
So the last time we were here in front of the board on December 18th, there were several concerns that were raised by everyone that we've since addressed. Some of them associated, well, the majority of them associated with safety, which was well received and well understood. So we've been working with the fire chief and building commissioner to come up with something that would be satisfactory to both parties as far as safety goes. And we've also looked through thoroughly the early education and care policy statements for playground safety as well. So we previously had a 4-foot wood fence or vinyl fence that we were proposing. That's since been changed to an ornamental steel. And we've included information on the construction of that fence in your packet. There are certain requirements for the early education and care as far as materials, spacing of the bars, as well as the tops and bottoms of them for safety purposes. So it'll be a smooth top and bottom. Bars will be 3 inches apart, so there's no chance for any type of entrapment in those areas, as well as from the fire chief and building commissioner, we've added the 4-foot gate to access the public way. And that one also has been, will be fixed with Panic Hardware. In the fire chief's letter and building commissioner letter that's included in your packet, they also wanted some additional vehicle protection around the play area. So we've added 6 bollards in different locations around the area based on the setup of where the gates are and where the existing curbing and utility poles are, to make sure that there's additional protection in the event that a vehicle was to go through there. And we also, I know the concern was when, for sidewalk access on that side, there are no sidewalks, connecting sidewalks on that side of the Cottage Street. They are on the opposite side, and there is a sidewalk pathway through the site, but there's no, or minimal, if any, foot traffic, car traffic that will be going through that area during hours of operation for that play area. The outdoor play area is proposed to be used for about a 60-minute time frame between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., weather permitting. They're also lucky enough to have the sports areas inside, so in the event of inclement weather, they have the option of the 2 areas to play in. During the 60-minute window that the children are outside, those gates will be closed. There's 10-foot gates on either end to allow for plowing and in the event there's snow, and those gates will remain open in hours of not use. So any window outside of that 60 minutes, those gates will be open. Downtown Sports is not open during that time that the preschool is in operation. And all access from the preschool and daycare parking area is from the opposite side of that area where the playground fenced area is. So the majority of the foot traffic, you can see on the drawing here. So the playground or the preschool and daycare area, this is the parking. We have the handicap access and the sidewalk that comes up into the daycare area here. And this is where all the intended parking is going. And like I had said, we added 6 bollards. We have them at the corners here and here. We have another one that's proposed at the edge of the 4-foot gate, and then we have 3 more in this area over here. From a safety perspective, we do have, they're required from the early education and care policy, they are required to have 1,500 square feet, which is why it's shaped the way it is. All the fenced area will be within the property of 238 to 258 Cottage Street as well. And Cottage Street is not a main cut-through area. The majority of traffic flows from Union Street to 495 or Union Street to Washington Street. And during business hours, there's not a significant amount of traffic in that area. So those are the changes that we've made to the plans. And again, we've worked with the fire chief and building commissioner, and I think that's pretty much where we're at.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I didn't ask you, but if you want to chime in, if you give your opinion, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr.
Thoughts?
Chairman. Any questions we had in the previous plan were addressed with the updated, this updated plan here. We just had some questions about which curb was being removed and that sort of thing, and they added all the notes on the plan, so we didn't have any other comments on the submittal.
Okay, you're comfortable with what you see as well?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll go to the board. Mark, go to you first.
No,
Any
I'm-
questions,
I'm all
comments?
set, no comment.
Okay, Jay?
I guess the only thing is the gate's gonna remain open for a back bike, that's just that, right? It's only closed during,
That 60-minute window that the children are outside.
That it? Yeah?
Just thank you for making those updates, and getting the safety address, that
Yep.
issues we had talked about. It's not hugely critical, but is there any way of getting the details for the fence on the plan? I know you reference it here, but if you can fit them on, it might be helpful.
Yeah, we can either fit them on the plan. Again, we weren't sure if it was definitely going to be this vendor that they're purchasing it from, but these are gonna be the requirements are equal.
Yeah,
But this seemed like a good fit for the area.
yeah, I like the steel option too. I
Yep.
think that's good.
Yep.
Thank you for hearing our concerns and adjusting accordingly. I think this is a massive improvement. I just have one super minor question. The fence that's on the plan, I guess it's True West, the gate, the door swings out into the pathway of the primary door to downtown sports. If, at least from what I'm reading on the plan, the actual main entrance door of downtown sports is not visible on this plan in terms of its exact location, but it looks like
So, for downtown, which door?
the main glass door right there off of, yeah. For,
So that door is actually, this is the overhead door. The glass door is.
oh, I see, it's further down on the left.
Yes.
So that's the overhead door. So in the case of an emergency, that wouldn't be a conflict because it's an overhead door. Okay, got it. I see now the existing daycare area that's the main entry door to downtown sports.
Yep. the existing
Next,
daycare
the
is
one
there.
over. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
That is all I had.
Anybody else? No? I just had two quick questions. Distance off of Cottage Street to the fence, 10, 12 feet, what
About
was it?
15.
It's about 15 feet?
Yep.
And now, there's some existing landscape, et
Rain
cetera,
gardens.
you're gonna maintain all that with,
That's within the
It's
town
gonna stay.
right away.
okay, but that all stays?
Yes,
Okay,
not,
so you're not
yes,
changing
all
any
the
of
fence and the bollards, those will all
Okay.
be within the
Okay.
property layout.
Okay, good. And I only have one other quick question, and thank you for all the changes, I think it makes a big difference. The 10-foot gate on the right-hand side of the site, is it possible to make that 2 5-footers? My only fear is you have some parking on the right side of that. It seems like more people than not are hitting the gas pedal rather than the brake. See the parking spot?
This
Yep. No, right where the 10-foot gate is?
That's one,
Yeah, your parking spot's directly across from it.
that's
I have a fear that if somebody should, yeah. Is it possible to make that 10-foot gate 2 5s and put a bollard in the middle? To help, God forbid somebody goes out of that spot too fast, they're gonna go right in between the other two bollards.
So as far as backing up,
Yep.
the purpose of the 10-foot wide gate is to allow equipment,
Okay.
plowing.
Yeah, I
and
get it, yeah.
That kind of stuff to go through there, so if we put a bollard there, it could not make it through. So we'd like to be able to keep this path all the way
Yeah,
clear.
but I also wanna keep the cars from going through too,
Yeah,
especially when you have children in there, that's the most important thing. you
yeah,
know.
and again, I mean, these spaces and backing up, I believe they can actually,
Just 'cause it's directly across from it, that's my only thought.
Is there a way to put a removable bollard so that way,
Well,
I mean, in the winter, I mean, the majority of the time,
The-
it's not gonna be used as a play area anyway, I would assume, right? So
they
that,
have certain requirements as far as weather that allows them to go outside during inclement weather or temperatures, so there could be kids out there during a 60-minute window in the winter.
gotcha.
However, again, the gate will be closed, but, the majority of the parking, or all of the parking is really associated over here. The parking over here is rarely used, and when it will be used, it's gonna be downtown sports when the daycare is in operation. So there's really no cars that park right there. I don't see that as being an issue.
And is there a way to put a no parking at a certain time to prevent that as a
Yeah,
possibility?
I'm just throwing it out there, I'm just thinking out loud, that's all, I wanna make it.
Your
so-
concern being that a car can get in between those two
Yeah.
bollards.
Yeah. Isn't some of that parking right there shared parking with the winery as well? In some of those spots right there
I
with the
don't
shared
believe you
parking?
have any shared,
No.
they don't have any
No. I
I
shared
thought
parking.
there was shared parking with that one.
Not that I'm aware of,
Okay. My apologies. Maybe it was entertained at one time and never went through.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah,
would
go
just
ahead.
note that, knowing how 10-foot wide gates operate, you might want to consider 2 5s. You don't necessarily need a pole in the center,
Yeah,
but a
that
Just-
should be-
10-foot
yeah,
swing
and
gate
just-
is
Sure.
And with the
large.
pin in the center, you just pull the
Yeah.
pin.
Yep,
I mean, that 10-foot is going to go into your, how far out do you think?
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, they're on a wheel and they'll roll, but.
yeah.
yeah,
That, I mean, there's not enough room for this to be a rolling one. This is definitely going to be a swing,
yeah.
so.
Right, and that's
5
the
might be better.
If you
detail
could,
that they showed, was a double,
double
Yeah,
acting
for
gate.
that
The double,
width.
this shows as a double gate, right?
So we showed as a 10-foot gate, which again is why we included the details as far as constructability goes. They have the single gate requirement, arrangement and double gate, nothing's been chosen as far as yet,
that's just
so-
their product reference?
Yeah, so these are
Okay.
the cut sheets for them as far as manufacturing, so you can see the way they would be constructed. But we can talk with Rich as far as doing this, the double gate for consideration. You know, that's something that they can,
If you can make it work, I'd feel more comfortable
Okay.
myself, if
Yep.
that's possible.
No,
If you
well-
can't, you know, just let building commissioner know and we'll be all set with it.
yeah.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay,
I
Amy?
did have one,
What?
one extra, I'm sorry. On that overhead door that's, goes from the existing press, what's the overhead door used for? What's going through?
That's just the garage, I'm sorry, I said the term right, the garage door
Yes.
access. We really haven't used it too much. It was there for when there was a hardware store. They didn't
Okay.
use it for, getting stuff, inventory in and out. We don't really use it at this point. It goes to a supply area essentially at this point. Just-
Right.
yeah.
Well, I was just saying with the 10-foot swing of the door and that, if we're talking double 5s on that side, with that 10-foot door, if it was used frequently with
No,
that
we don't use it
gate,
that much
okay,
at all,
all right.
so it wouldn't impact it if that were the case.
Okay,
That's it, thank you.
thank you. Okay, with the board's thoughts?
Motion to approve.
Let's see, we just close the public hearing?
It's not a public hearing.
It's not, yeah,
Just
just make
kidding.
a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the limited site plan at 34, Saxon Street.
Saxon Street, yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Do you wanna,
Aye.
do you wanna include any conditions or recommended conditions such as,
The
Just
door.
about the, just
adding
about the
fence
gate.
plans?
Yeah,
to-
sorry, add the fence detail and
And
consideration
trying to
for
get the
2,
two,
yeah,
height
5-foot
gates.
gates. Yeah. All right.
And if there's any questions, the building commissioner can touch base with me about the gate if need be.
Yep. And where this is a limited site plan, does the board endorse it as well, or do we just get a letter with,
I'll give you a letter.
letter? Sounds good, excellent,
Okay?
thank you very much.
Thank you
Wait,
for
we
the,
didn't
all the
get the
changes.
final vote though.
Excuse me?
Get a vote.
Oh, we gotta vote
Oh, I
again?
thought we
Sorry.
voted.
We
Yep.
were second and then I interrupted.
Oh, all right.
Second.
Sorry, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah. Not too bad. And now, our last item, excuse me, our last item of business would be for 147 Pond Street, and this is more of an update on where they stand in the process. If,
1 second, sorry, you look like you might have a question
Oh.
out there in the audience.
I thought this was tri-county vote.
yes, that,
We're getting to it now.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When you said last, I'm thinking.
yeah, that's our last item of business for the night, yep. They're just gonna give us an update of where they are, because they're still working all their way through, so if somebody from
They're on,
Voc is
they're on
there,
zone.
okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, it's Steve Powers from Symbiotis Consultants, members of the board. Like you said, we're here to provide a bit of an update. Since our last meeting last month, we did receive peer review comments from your peer reviewer. Soon after that, we received traffic comments as well. We're planning on putting together, we are, and we're finalizing a comprehensive peer review response in addition to revising the plans and providing additional supporting documentation that the board asked for at the last hearing, and supporting documentation that we would be putting together anyways for a comprehensive site plan review. A couple of those items for the supporting documentation, I believe one of the board members asked for a cut section through the building to show the comparison of existing elevations of adjacent residential areas to where the building is going to go. So that is in process. We'll have that to be able to show as an exhibit for the next hearing. Mr. Chairman, I believe you brought up the SWIP. That has already been submitted. As many of you know, we're in other entitlements and approvals through the town of Franklin as well. We're a little bit ahead as far as the notice of intent goes. So a lot of information was supplied that may have some overlap to the site plan review process as well, which includes the SWIP. And in the meantime, we've addressed most of the site layout comments, the landscaping comments, stormwater goes hand in hand with what was supplied by the peer reviewer. So we have finalized that. And a couple items that we did want to bring up to the board, they're a little bit overarching, and we wanted to just get some feedback on that. One of them is zoning. The first handful of comments by the peer reviewer addressed specific zoning comments, and we had reviewed this, and the zoning comments and waivers we would be looking for are either pre-existing non-compliant for the site, we're not doing anything differently, or we are improving the situation. For example, the impervious coverage on the site, we're reducing that overall. The other two items were building height, which I believe we put together a calculation. We submitted that along with our request for the zoning code enforcement officer, the building commissioner, to review that. I believe he submitted a letter to the planning board in support of the zoning items and his approval for those. And then the final item was the removal of earth. We did go through some extensive calculations with our construction manager on board, Consigli, and based on our calculations for the amount of earth we are removing from the property, we're bringing back just slightly less than 1,000 cubic yards. So we essentially meet that requirement without requiring a special permit. So with that, and I could talk about the two other items after that. One, I just wanted to confirm that the board did receive the letter from the zoning code enforcement officer, and if there was any specific questions related to zoning, any other items associated with, maybe some other comments that might come up too. So happy to open it up to the board for that.
Okay. But before we do that, I just want to make a note. We did receive a letter from one of the abutters. Apologize if I ruined the last name. Mary Jo Yasitovich. She's an adjoining neighbor, abutting neighbor. So she had some reservations and concerns about the air horns, the distance from the field to her property and whatnot. So I want to make sure we can address this letter as well while you're doing it. Just to, not tonight, just as you're moving forward. We'll have this letter submitted as part of the package, okay, for record.
Sure.
But I guess we'll go to the board first. Anybody have any comments or questions? I did talk to the building commissioner about a couple of about the letter. I didn't personally see any discrepancies with it, but I just deferred to ask me. You guys all have something to say as well. I think it meets what's there. We're not going outside the bounds on it. My biggest one was the height, which I think he hit, and the amount of yardage up there. And make sure there's not more than 1,000 yards removed off-site. They will be blasting up there, but that'll fall on the fire department. I did have another question, and it was reference to the lighting of the fields. I know I threw it out there, but Just want you guys to take a peek at that as well, because that will directly affect the neighbors in the future. So I definitely want to make sure we get some kind of answer, geez, I'd even like to see a photometric plan prior to it, if that's being said, just so we have some kind of boundaries when it comes back the next time, if that being said. But that's something you guys can work on as a design team. Anybody else have any questions? Beth?
Yeah, I think that it's important that you make sure you get a copy of this letter from, or email from Mary Jo. I think her points are valid ones that should be looked into, having previously lived across from a playing field myself. Air horns are rough. I know it's a school and you're going to have noise, you can't, you know, obviously those things happen, but just how are you addressing the concerns from abutters on the noise of regular practices, games, you know, whistles, things to that extent, making sure folks are still able to enjoy their property next door and not having to hear air horns all the time.
Sure. Sure. I believe she did bring up some of those items at the last hearing. We did address them, but we can formally document that as well. And we'll come up with a response. And I guess, would we include it as part of the peer review letter, comprehensive peer review letter, based on her comments that we received?
I'm sorry, part of the, I can't
Part
hear
of
you.
the
Or a separate letter
Okay,
altogether?
sorry.
Yep.
Yep.
Amy, Zach,
Would-
you want it done that way, or just?
Well, yeah, so the letter's online under the agenda tonight, so
Yep.
it was part of the agenda packet, so that
Oh, great.
the applicant is able to review what was said.
Good.
There should be some type of kind of, if the board is requesting this, a written communication.
Yeah.
But it might even be separate than the peer review, but a letter addressing any noise concern as well as lighting.
Sure.
A separate
Sure.
letter would
Yeah,
be
we could
would
just
be
think-
fine.
Yeah, okay.
Just
That
to
was
show
my
that you
question,
did your
Mr.
due
Chairman. Thank you.
diligence and
Yeah.
whatnot.
A
Yep.
response to her email would
Yep.
be happy to use at the next meeting would be
Sure.
great.
As part of the update, yep.
Yep.
Okay. No, good. Jay? No? Mark?
Good, thank you.
Good. I see a couple in the audience. You have any comments, questions?
Yes.
Just approach the mic and give your name and address, please, for the record.
Which one's okay?
Yeah, that one right there. Yep.
I am Mary Jo Yesitovich, and good evening once again.
Sorry I ruined your name if I
Oh,
did.
no, everybody does, I'm used to it. I live at the end of MacArthur, okay, and two sides of my property up at Tri-County Voc. And when the leaves are down, the school's right there. So in other words, this is why I'm concerned about the fields. If someone has one of the map of the plan, if they could put that up, that way you can see exactly where my home is in relationship to the fields in question. The first question I have for them is, which I thought they were going to be here, I'm sorry, is blasting. I don't know, does anyone know when blasting is going to take place? And can I find out when blasting is going to take place, just so that myself and the neighbors know that?
Well, that falls on the fire department, all
Okay.
blasting, so they'll have to do a pre-blast survey and whatnot. That was one of the calculations they were figuring on, and the amount of material coming off site as well, so.
Okay.
That's in due process. They'll be obviously getting in touch with you on that, so that's something that
Okay.
the town will cover.
Super, like I said, I don't know who
They go
different
through
things fall
fire
underneath.
department for all blasting, yep.
Yeah, thank you. And in regards to the demolition of the existing school, I had emailed Dr. Karen McGuire, asked if there was any toxic materials, there. And she was very quick in replying, and she stated that any substances that the government identifies as hazardous materials will be removed in accordance with state and federal guidelines. And again, I thank her and appreciate her because she always does make a prompt response. However, my question was, is there any hazardous materials there? Again, I need to trust that it's handled correctly. I would just like to know, actually, is there or not? I've had a history with Rich has breathing concerns in the past, and so basically I would like to know who the demolition crew is in case there's other, concerns on that. 'Cause again, if they were able to pull the map up, if you saw where my house is in relationship to the school, it is very close, very, very close. And I've never complained about them. they've actually been very good neighbors. As far as distance, I had asked, in the letter I had addressed to Ms. Love, I had asked Tri-County in September 23 and again in the 24 about the distance between myself and these fields. And I would like to know an actual footage. I just did want to recap that. Plans have been drawn, so somebody knows how far these are. I would like to know what it was. I have asked twice. And hopefully someone can help me clarify that. When Franklin High rebuilt their fields, rebuilt their schools, they had more distance, it appears. I went over there and looked at it myself, between the fields and any sort of neighboring residence. Okay, I am right there. The artist rendition online does not even closely accurately represent where my house is in relationship to it. I know it's just an artist rendition. It's to, promote the school, which I'm glad they're getting a new school. Okay. Again, my main concerns is lighting, as we mentioned, and noise. This football field is designated as a multi-purpose field. I want to point that out to you. And so it's a multi-purpose field. And so this isn't just football. Okay. Also, because Tri-County is a regional school, there are 12 towns in the district. I had asked them at one point, does this mean the field is just used for Tri-County purposes? And I was told succinctly that this was, because it's funded by 12 towns, that any of these 12 towns could also access the fields. Okay, so that multi-purpose field plus the soccer field, I believe it's a soccer field, the other one that's directly behind my home as well. This is going to, like I said, this is not a small impact. If it was just a matter of a few games, I wouldn't be standing here, I assure you. Let me see if there's anything else here. I had asked Tri-County if it was necessary for the football field to be moved. I mean, they already have one down there. And he said it had to do with the distance between the field and the bathroom facilities, between restroom facilities. However, they are still using that field, so I'm not sure what kind of answer that was. So I just wanted to point that out as well, because if the field stayed where it was, then I wouldn't be that close to the field. This is not just for me, it's the other neighbors along MacArthur Road as well. I did ask about air horns, okay. I'm asking, which I might have mentioned on that letter to Amy, could they have a no air horn policy? Mr. Kushnick, who's the board, the chairman of their board, stated that that the air horns were not used by them, they were just by guests to the fields. If that is in fact true, which is what he said, then can we just have a no air horn policy? I mean, that would, seems to me, like I said, I'm just trying to meet people.
Sure.
I'm not trying to be, the shrew in the neighborhood, okay? And so that was another point I wanted to raise. And the other thing is that on that letter is that I would like to know if Tri-County is willing to have a professional acoustic specialist look into the noise concern. I'm up the hill, sound travels up. It truly does. Football games and other sports, as you know, are allowed. And so I've asked before for any ideas for noise mitigation that can be done, and I did not receive a reply. So I would appreciate some sort of reply on that matter. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Okay,
I
thank you.
appreciate.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody in Zoom land? Anybody have their hands up?
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one more item. I thought we were just going to talk about zoning, but I'm happy to listen to the other comments by the abutters as well as the board. But if you don't mind, the one other comment that was in the peer review letter that we'd like to ask the board to consider as a waiver is a traffic impact assessment. And the reason for this is, as the board knows and anyone that's reviewing the plans, we are not changing any of the access points from Tri-County Drive onto Old West Central Street or Pond Street. The two-way access drive to the campus, there will be just one, like it is now. We're shifting that slightly, but maintaining the same width for traffic coming out of the campus and turning either right or left onto Tri-County Drive. And I think the most important part of this is the use will remain the same. as well as the number of students attending the school. So there's no changes in really any of the daily traffic patterns. It would be, once the school is built and constructed and the campus is open, the traffic patterns that's existing now, would remain, and we would hope the board would consider the additional cost and time associated with putting together a full traffic impact assessment. We do have our traffic engineer on the call now. He did put together a memo essentially talking more about the on-site vehicular movements. Happy to turn it over to him briefly if he has anything to add that I didn't, and then, of course, listen to any of the board's concerns or comments.
Okay, let me, I may have a comment on that. I'll go to the board first, if the board has any comments to the traffic study first.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand what you're saying. It adds time and money to everybody's agenda for getting this approved and moving on to build. However, I guess in recent months, having been over there while school is going on, I think that traffic patterns have changed a bit since probably the last time the Oak School was looked at for traffic, and have noticed there might need to be some adjustments to traffic lights, maybe to accommodate a better flow, because there's so many people, there's sit right in the, can't turn, and then all of a sudden the light turns red and you're still seeing people going, and have noticed people going straight from, what is that? 140?
Old West Central and
Old West
140.
Central, and everybody's just trying to merge at once, and it's a big mess. I don't know if there's a, modified traffic study or something, but I do think looking at it is an important thing to do in some capacity, just because of the current patterns up there are pretty bad.
Okay. Jay? No?
I mean, they might be somewhat impacted by construction.
It,
That was
it was
kind
like
of-
that pre-construction.
It-
It's been
100%.
years.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
horrible plaza over there didn't
That
help.
one, yeah.
Oh, the one that we both tried to shoot down.
The Starbucks plaza, yeah. I just think it's a little bit of a mess, so that's all I'm saying.
I actually agree with Beth, but one of my larger concerns would be not just the school, but the whole operation of the construction of the new school. You're gonna have guys coming in and out of there, you're gonna have trucks coming in and out of there. That access road is off the main road on the old West Central Street side, so not only you're gonna have to deal with the kids' traffic, now you have to deal with all the construction vehicle traffic. So I definitely would like to see something at least to address that. I mean, this project is gonna be, what, 2.5 years? Am I correct?
Yes. We did put together, Mr. Chairman, we did put together logistics plans and phasing plans. I'm sure we could put together a temporary traffic management plan that includes construction traffic. And we could certainly, we have Consigli on the phone now.
Yeah, I
But
don't
we
know.
can,
For long term, you're looking for something like
Yeah.
some signal timing adjustments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's something
I
that's
think,
out there.
I think you're gonna have to look at this as a traffic, but Amy, go ahead.
No, that's what I was gonna say, maybe to recommend, because a lot of times, when the traffic study comes in, there's several lights there, and they would probably go all the way down West Central and down towards East Central. I think if the board wants to focus on that main intersection with and that is Mass DOT, I believe, right? It's not town owned, but there has always been an issue with those lights, and the timing. I don't know if the board's amendable to just focus on that intersection for a traffic study, or do you need to go further down? Just to kind of reduce the traffic. If you want it all, that's fine too, but that's definitely, I think that the timing
I
of
would
those
like
lights
DOT's light,
should probably be addressed.
Yeah.
Hmm?
it's Mass DOT's light,
Yeah.
so even if we get traffic cited as switching, we still have to go to Mass DOT.
It's part of the,
It's just part of it, I mean,
Yeah, I'm just trying to
yeah,
talk back.
like Beth said, the school was built in what, 80,
Early
80,
77.
80, yeah,
Very
77.
almost 50
There's
years
been a
old.
lot of development in that general area since the school was built, so we'll go to Mike. Mike wants to chime in.
Yeah, just, Mr. Chairman, just to touch on that, so the traffic signal at the entrance of Old West Central across from Franklin Village Mall, there's, state-owned signal, and I'm pretty sure that's all coordinated with the signals at the on-ramps at 495. And the state did make some changes to that within the past couple of years, so my suggestion would be if they take a look at the signal timing at that intersection, coordinate with Mass DOT to see, you know, what improvements they recently made and see if there's any other tweaks they might be able to make to the timing to accommodate the schools. If Mass DOT might have already made whatever changes, that could be helpful there, so.
Yep.
Just coordinate with the DOT on that.
With,
Yeah.
with the retail development that went in with the Starbucks that's at the bottom of the hill, would that development have put together a traffic study that I would assume would have incorporated traffic patterns for the school that, as Mr. Chairman said, it was, you know, it was built in the late 70s. Does anyone recall that approval?
They did,
Specifically?
yeah.
Okay.
But the dilemma is,
I think like Mike suggested, if you can look
If
at
you
what
can-
Mass DOT
DOT.
did, what that plaza did, and just make sure everything's up to date. And if there are any changes that are needed with signals, and work with Mass DOT to make them. So I think it just needs
Yeah.
to be looked at and can't just say, don't worry about it, with a waiver.
Just to add to that, Mr. Chairman, I
Sure.
believe that the Mass DOT made some timing changes along those signals after the Starbucks Plaza was already in place, so that'd probably be the most recent changes what Mass DOT had done.
okay, good. I have one question to the applicant. The amount of students coming and going from the Pond Street side to the old West Central Street, what's the percentage? Is it 50-50 exit? 75-25? Those are the numbers that you're gonna have to take a peek at. I don't know how many kids leave onto the
I-
Pond Street exit, or how many leave onto the West
Yep.
Central Street, but that's gonna make a big difference of what this intersection does too.
Sure. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I would want to speak to it. I would defer to the traffic engineer.
Okay. And Jen had a quick question?
Yeah, unrelated to traffic, I do think it's worth an acoustic engineer looking at the site, considering the significant grade changes and change in layout of where buildings and facilities, outdoor venues are located in respect to neighbors and vegetation. So I would like to see some sort of report by a professional outlining sort of
So
existing.
there was a, sorry, I was going to say there was an acoustic report that was supplied as part of the site plan review package.
I'm having a hard.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there was an acoustic engineer that was engaged, and they did put together a report, and we did submit it as part of the overall site plan approval package.
Do you guys
Is
remember
that
seeing
on?
that? I don't remember seeing an acoustic
I don't
report.
recollect seeing it.
No.
Alright,
Okay, we can,
But
if
if you
you don't
could-
have it on record, we can certainly resubmit.
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
And then that'll help address the neighbor sitting in front of us as well.
They're welcome to come up to my house and go in the backyard to listen, because when there was a problem with the bearing on the air conditioner, Mr. Takishan, who was very helpful, who's the facility manager there, it was not nearly as loud on their property as it was on my property. It was much more loud. And he came up and he was stunned at the difference. So they are welcome to come up and stand in my backyard anytime they want.
Okay. Good. So, thank you for the update, and we are gonna continue this, July 8th, Amy? So I make a motion to continue 147 Pond Street to July 8th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I believe that's it for our meeting. Anybody have any comments or questions? No?
Amy, anything on the,
Master plan.
Master
Yeah.
plan?
yeah, we have a big date coming up, June 12th. Do you wanna talk about it, Jen, or do you want me to?
Sure, June 12th, which is next week.
Yep.
There's a public hearing in which the master planning committee, all of the subcommittees will be presenting, draft goals to the community for input. So encourage everyone to attend. It's 6:30 PM?
6:30 PM in the Townsend
In Chambers.
in Chambers.
Yep.
It's on the website. We've got some flyers around town. We encourage any public out there that'd like to come and review the goals, provide feedback.
Which is just the first step towards finalizing goals and objectives as an update to the 2013.
Right. And it's
Fine.
heading towards the final step of writing the plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. All good?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I was trying to.
No, I thought Amy was gonna,